Hey, Mary. It's so great that we're canoeing on the Tamsui River today. But before we embark on our adventure, there are some things we should be aware of.
Sure, Tom. What do we need to know?
First and foremost, we need to pay attention to the tides. The Tamsui River is a tidal river, and tides can affect our canoeing experience. It's important to plan our trip according to the tide schedule to ensure safe navigation.
That's good to know, Tom. What about offshore currents? Do we need to be cautious of those too?
Absolutely, Mary. Offshore currents can be strong in certain areas of the river. We should be aware of any potential currents and avoid canoeing in areas where the current is too powerful.
Makes sense. Are there any dangerous fish we should watch out for in the river?
Yes, there are a few species of fish in the Tamsui River that can be considered hazardous. One notable example is the stonefish, which has venomous spines. It's important to avoid contact with these fish and be cautious when entering shallow or rocky areas.
Good to be aware of that, Tom. What about river pollution? Is it something we need to be concerned about?
Unfortunately, the Tamsui River has faced issues with pollution in the past. Although efforts have been made to improve the water quality, it's still important to be cautious. We should avoid ingesting the river water and be mindful of any signs of pollution, such as floating debris or unusual smells.
Thanks for the heads up, Tom. Now, before we wrap up, could you give me a quick summary of the origin of Tamsui Port and the historical significance of the burning of the Wangya boats?
Of course, Mary. Tamsui Port has a rich history dating back to the 17th century when it was established as a trading post during the Dutch colonial period. Over time, it grew into a major port for international trade and played a significant role in Taiwan's economic development. As for the burning of the Wangya boats, it is a traditional festival held in Tamsui. It originated from the belief that burning elaborately decorated boats would ward off evil spirits and bring good fortune. Today, the festival is a vibrant celebration of local culture and attracts tourists from all over.
That's fascinating, Tom. I'm glad we had this conversation. Now, let's continue enjoying our canoeing adventure while keeping these important aspects in mind.
Absolutely, Mary. Let's have a fantastic time exploring the Tamsui River while staying safe and respecting its history and environment. Have you ever wondered about the origin of Tamsui Port and its history?
No, but I would love to learn more about it. Can you tell me?
Sure. Tamsui Port played a significant role in maritime trade during the 16th and 17th centuries as it was situated on the freshwater river, which was a point of trade for opium, textiles, tea, sugar, and camphor.
That's interesting. Why did the port lose its international status to Keelung Port?
The harbor became silted, and there were changes in government policies around 1903. Keelung Port became the primary international port. The King's Boat ceremony commemorates the sacrifice of loyalists during the Qing dynasty. The wooden boat is loaded with offerings and set aflame, symbolizing the burning of civil grievances and restoring peace to the community.
Wow, that's fascinating. The history and culture of this place are so rich. Yes, and we're fortunate to be exploring it on this lovely canoe ride.
Well, according to experts, there are various types of fish that can pose a threat. One common fish is the freshwater mullet, which is known to jump out of the water unexpectedly.
Really? That sounds dangerous. How does that happen?
There are different reasons. Sometimes it's because of the boats passing by, or the direction of the fish swimming. But it could also be due to hot weather or water pollution, or even predatory fish chasing after them.
Wow, we need to be careful then. Is there anything we can do to prevent getting hit by these jumping fish?
Well, the best thing is to always wear protective gear, like helmets and goggles. It's also a good idea to stay alert and keep an eye on the water around us as we paddle.
Thanks for letting me know, Tom. I had no idea there were potential risks like that in this river.
No problem, Mary. It's better to be safe than sorry. Let's enjoy our canoeing adventure, but let's keep an eye out for those jumping fish. Hi Mary, have you ever experienced being caught in offshore currents when canoeing?
No, fortunately, I haven't. What are offshore currents?
Offshore currents are powerful currents that can pull swimmers, surfers, and canoers out to sea. They can be very dangerous and hard to spot. Unfortunately, I was caught in one last summer while canoeing in the Tamsui River.
That's scary. How did you manage to save yourself?
Well, the first thing to remember is to stay calm. I stuck with my canoe and kept afloat until I could swim out of the current's path. Another rescue technique is to take off any extra weight and try to remain on the canoe or raft and paddle towards safety.
That's good to know. It's always better to be prepared for any emergency. Thanks for sharing your experience with me, Tom.
Mary, have you noticed all the rubbish floating around in the river? Yes, it's really sad to see. I didn't expect the river to be so polluted. It's a big problem, and it's affecting the ecosystem of the river. Mary, have you ever wondered what's causing all the pollution in the Tamsui River?
I have no idea, but it's really concerning to see so much rubbish dumped into the river. That's really disappointing to hear. Are there any efforts being made to reduce this pollution?
Yes, the local government has implemented laws and regulations to prevent industries from releasing harmful pollutants into the river. However, enforcement of these regulations can be a challenge. Well, we can start by picking up any rubbish we see and properly disposing of it. We can also raise awareness about the issue and encourage others to take action.
What can we do about it?
Well, we can start by picking up any rubbish we see and properly disposing of it. We can also raise awareness about the issue and encourage others to take action. That's a good idea. Maybe we can even organize a cleanup event with other people who enjoy paddling on the river. Exactly. The more people we can get involved, the bigger impact we can make. Let's do our part and help keep the Tamsui River clean.
Are there any organizations or groups that are actively working to clean up the river?
Yes, there are several non-profit organizations and groups that are organizing cleanup events and raising awareness about the issue. We can also do our part by being responsible with our own waste and encouraging others to do the same.
It's really important that we take action to protect the river and the ecosystem it supports. Let's do what we can to help.
Hey Mary, do you know how tides can affect our canoeing activity here in Tamsui River?
No, I'm not quite sure. Can you enlighten me?
Sure thing. Tides can cause the water level to rise and fall, which can affect the speed and direction of the river flow, making it harder for us to paddle upstream or downstream.
Oh, I see. So, how can we stay safe and avoid dangerous conditions caused by tides?
We need to check the tidal forecast before we go out, and plan our canoeing activity around high or low tide, depending on our goals. For example, if we want to explore upstream and go with the flow, we should time our trip with the incoming tide.
That makes sense. How can we check the tidal forecast for this area, Tom?
There are several ways to do that. We can check the local weather forecast, visit the nearest harbor office for tide tables, or look up online tide forecasts for this area.
Great, thanks for the tip, Tom. Let's be safe and enjoy the ride.
Wow, what a fantastic canoeing experience we had on the Tamsui River today. But before we wrap up, let's recap on the important things we learned earlier.
Sure, Tom. What were some of the things we needed to be aware of when canoeing on the river?
We needed to pay attention to the tides since the Tamsui River is a tidal river. We also had to be cautious of offshore currents, avoid dangerous fish species, and be mindful of river pollution.
Right, those were essential things to keep in mind to ensure our safety and respect the environment. And what about the history of Tamsui Port and the burning of the Wang Ye Boats Festival?
Tamsui Port has a rich history dating back to the Dutch colonial period, and it played a crucial role in Taiwan's economic development. And the burning of the Wang Ye Boats Festival is a traditional celebration that originated from the belief that burning decorated boats could ward off evil spirits and bring good fortune.
That's fascinating, Tom. I'm glad we got to learn about the river's history and culture while enjoying our canoeing adventure.
Me too, Mary. Let's always remember to respect and preserve the Tamsui River's environment and heritage whenever we visit.
Absolutely, Tom. Let's continue being responsible canoers and promote sustainable tourism in Taiwan.
Sounds like a plan, Mary. Until next time, happy canoeing.